that reducing spending, it's like going to heaven. I want to go to heaven. I bet you want to go to heaven, Mr. President. I bet our guests in the gallery want to go to heaven, but everybody wants to go to heaven. Raise your hand if you're ready to take the trip today. Most people, you are, sir, and I admire that, but most people want to live a little longer. And that's the way it is with reducing spending around here. I want to reduce spending. I support it, but not just yet. You either believe in reducing spending or you don't. And if you talk the game and say, let's reduce spending, and you vote against this bill, in my opinion, you ought to hide your head in a bag. Because you will be able to cut the hypocrisy with a knife.
When career politicians in Washington preach fiscal responsibility while quietly voting to protect millions in unadulterated garbage spending, someone has to rip the mask off their hypocrisy. Senator John Kennedy just delivered an absolute masterclass on the Senate floor. Let's roll the tape.
And so I want to say, Mr. President, next week, President Trump's going to send us over what's called a rescission bill. What does that mean? Well, we've got a $7 trillion budget. Okay. I don't know how much of that $7 trillion is waste, but every fair-minded person would have to agree that there's some money being spent in that $7 trillion that shouldn't be spent. It just shouldn't. It's wasted money. And so President Trump and this Congress made one of its objectives trying to reduce spending. Not spending that we need to reduce, but spending that needs to be reduced. I call it spending porn. And the president has sent us a bill. He's saying to Congress, I want you to reduce spending in the current budget by $9.1 billion. And let me tell you what the spending, what constitutes the spending I want to reduce. Well, first, $9.1 billion out of a $7 trillion budget, we're not talking about a lot of money here. We're talking about 0.1%. That's all. That's point one. Point two, you need to look at what the president's asking us to cut out. I'll just give you a couple of examples. I didn't make this up. The president is saying we're giving $3 million to Iraq to produce Sesame Street. Maybe we could use that money for something else. The president is saying we're giving $3 million to Zambia for circumcisions and vasectomies. The president's saying we don't need to do that. We've got other priorities. We're giving $500,000 to Rwanda to buy electric buses. The president is saying to us, Congress, we don't need to be spending the money on that. There are more important things. We're spending $67,000 to give insect powder to kids in Madagascar. I don't even know what insect powder is, but the president's asking us to cut it out. We're giving $3,600,000 to Haiti for pastry cooking classes, for cyber cafes, for dance focus groups, for male prostitutes. The president's saying, I don't think so. I don't think that the American people support giving their hard-earned money to male prostitutes in Haiti. So he's asking us to cut it out. He's asking us to reduce the budget by $833,000 because some of President Biden's bureaucrats gave a contract to transgender people, sex workers, and their clients in Nepal. The president's saying, I don't want to do that. And he's right. That's enough. You get the idea. That's why I call it spending porn. Triggers your gag reflex. You look at this stuff and you go, what in God's name? Who decided to do this? Well, Congress didn't. The bureaucrats did. It's money we appropriated, but we didn't tell them to go spend money, $833,000, and give to sex workers in Nepal. They just took the money we appropriated and used it for that. And so the president is asking us to do what's called a rescission, to cancel the spending. Now, I have listened, I've been here 8 years, Mr. President, and I've listened to a whole bunch of people talk about the need to reduce spending. But you got to watch what people do, not what they say. Because talk is cheap. And around here, I've learned pretty quickly that reducing spending, it's like going to heaven. I want to go to heaven. I bet you want to go to heaven, Mr. President. I bet our guests in the gallery want to go to heaven. But everybody wants to go to heaven. Raise your hand if you're ready to take the trip today. Most people, you are, sir, and I admire that, but most people want to live a little longer. And that's the way it is with reducing spending around here. I want to reduce spending. I support it, but not just yet, because I've got this project. Well, and I've listened to that. And I've especially listened to it for the past 100 days. Go get them, President Trump. Reduce that spending. We're behind you 1,000%. Well, he has. He has. 0.1% he's asking us to reduce. And I'm not saying senators shouldn't ask questions and make some changes if they need to be made, but here's the bottom line. It is gut check time. It is gut check time. You either believe in reducing spending or you don't. And if you talk the game and say, let's reduce spending, and you vote against this bill, in my opinion, you ought to hide your head in a bag. Because you will be able to cut the hypocrisy with a knife. It's real hard, Mr. President, to preach temperance from a bar stool. It's gut check time. We need to pass this bill. I yield the floor, Mr. President.
Down the sheer unadulterated fire that just erupted in the Senate. Senator John Kennedy stepped up to the podium and didn't hold back a single punch. President Trump sent Congress a rescission bill asking them to cut a mere $9.1 billion out of a bloated $7 trillion federal budget. That's a measly 0.1%. But what makes taxpayers want to gag isn't just the size. It's what the federal government is actually spending our hard-earned money on. Kennedy read the receipts, and the list is sickening. Millions of dollars shipped overseas for Sesame Street in Iraq, circumcisions and vasectomies in Zambia, electric buses in Rwanda, and millions more tossed at Haiti for pastry cooking classes, cyber cafes, dance focus groups, and male prostitutes. And let's not forget the nearly $1 million handed to sex workers and clients in Nepal. Bureaucrats took money appropriated by Congress and turned it into what Kennedy rightly calls spending porn. The kind of reckless, mind-boggling waste that triggers an instant gag. Then came the absolute knockout blow. Kennedy called out the endless parade of talkers in Washington who claim they want to cut spending, but fold the second it's time to actually vote. He compared it to everyone saying they want to go to heaven, but nobody wanting to take the trip today. Kennedy laid down the ultimate truth bomb. It's real hard to preach temperance from a bar stool. If you talk a big game about reducing the national debt and slashing waste, but you vote against cutting foreign sex workers and absurd foreign grants, you ought to hide your head in a bag because your hypocrisy can be cut with a knife. The Democrats and swamp insiders sitting in that chamber had zero defense, completely cornered by common sense and undeniable facts. While out-of-touch bureaucrats protect their favorite pet projects, Senator Kennedy stood shoulder to shoulder with the American people, demanding a return to basic fiscal sanity. President Trump is leading the charge to clean up the mess, and Kennedy made it clear that every single lawmaker is facing a defining moment of truth. If you are sick and tired of watching your hard-earned tax dollars squandered on global insanity while hard-working families pay the price, smash that subscribe button right now. Senator John Kennedy's explosive speech proved that when it comes to cutting government waste, talk is cheap and receipts are everything. What do you think about his legendary barstool takedown? Drop your fiery thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next one.